All right, we are live right now on YouTube. All right, good evening once again. I'm so excited to be here with each and every one of us. I really appreciate all our viewers. You guys mean a lot to us. Without you, I won't be here doing what I'm doing. But I noticed that many of you watch um, my episodes, many of you watch my videos, many of you watch my live, but you don't follow us. We really appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel because it will encourage us to keep showing up here for you and also engaging, like our videos, comment in areas that broke out loud for you, and at the same time, make sure you subscribe with us. All right. So once again, I remain my humble self, Eminent Augusta, your sales and marketing expert, and your sales and okay, let's put don't mind me. My name is Eminent Augusta Ihezu, your number one sales and marketing expert, your business automation expert, and your business growth consultant. And today we are going to be looking at, or more like we'll be discussing about different ways on how to speak to sell. So those of us on Zoom, I'll be interacting because there are people on Zoom as much as there are people on YouTube. So I'll be interacting more with people on Zoom because they can ask me like questions. All right. So my when you see my attention here, I'm speaking to people on Zoom. Then I know people on YouTube are over there, right? So today we'll be talking about how to speak to sell, right? How to speak to sell and selling out with a webinar or selling out with a presentation or selling out with your content or selling out with a video or selling out in a conference. Maybe you're invited to speak to a group of people, or even selling out to one person, right? There's a format, there's a strategy to speaking to sell. So this strategy for you to speak to sell consists of 8 different steps, right? There are 8 steps to speaking to sell. Now, if you can use these 8 steps, you'll be able to get more people to buy from you. And when they buy from you, just because of what you did, you'll be able to get them to thank you for collecting their money. That's the part I love so much, right? So I'm going to list the 8 steps, then I'll go ahead to explain them one after the other. So when it comes to speaking to sell, when it comes to having speaking in a webinar, in a conference, maybe you're invited to speak to a group of people, you are doing a presentation, you are making a video, or you're even doing a write-up, right? The first step is open. The first step is open, meaning always start your conversation with a story. The second step is hook. Hook means what is that thing that your audience will learn? What is that thing you promise to give them for them to pay attention to you? That's the second step. The third step is proof. What is the proof? Meaning proof of your own story, how you went from hell to heaven, right? Something like that, or how you went from grass to grace. Or even if it's not your story, you can share someone else's story. Show a proof. Show people proof that this thing you're about to teach them works. That's the essence. Then number 4 is training. Now in training, that is where you now give content. That is where you give value. Number 5 is transition. Transition is where you move from the value and the content you're giving to people to making a pitch, right? Number 6 is offer. Offer, this is where you present your offer, not just your product, but your offer, right? Step 7 is your question and answer. Here, this is where you use questions to sell. You answer all those silent questions in the head of your audience and sell to them and close. And number 8 is close. And when you're coming to closing, when we come to closing with urgency and scarcity to get them to pay right now. So let's dig into these 8 steps on how to speak to sell, right? The first, like I mentioned, is opening. So when we talk about opening, meaning your title, you must always start with a title that piques the curiosity of your reader. For example, I could start with the number one money making app, or I could start with how can you generate over 1 million naira in sales weekly if you don't currently sell anything online yet. Guess what? When I open with this statement, it will grab the attention of my audience. And that's why it's very important for you, before you go to speak, understand who your audience are, so that you can open in a way that can grab their attention and retain their attention for them to pay attention to you, right? So when you're opening, the goal is to have a bold title that piques their curiosity. And it's always good, in order for you to form a bond with them, open with a story, open with a statistics, or open with a question, something that will draw their attention to you, right? Number two is hook. Now, hook means your ability to grab their attention, grab it down, hook them down with a promise. Declare of what your promise is and keep their attention with that hook. You could use a curiosity powerful words, either a curiosity driven word, a powerful word such as rapid change, magic, 3 weeks, just something that you say that will grab their attention, right? It's very, very important. Then number three, like I mentioned, is the proof. Now, what is proof? Proof is your ability to show them the result, show them evidence of what you're about to teach them, that it really worked, why they should listen to you. This is where you tell them about yourself. This is where you tell them about your story. This is where you tell them someone else's story, a transition from hell to heaven. Here is where you introduce yourself and ensure you connect with your audience with your story, right? When it comes to making money, you have to learn how to sell a grace to grass story, how someone moved from hellfire to heaven without falling into the river or the sea where a shark. How many of you remember those image when we were small? That storybook that will show a man on the tree, snake is on the branch, lion is below, shark is you see the shark in the sea and stuff like that, right? So that kind of story. It could be a story of how someone was able to walk on water but with their legs, right? So when it comes to making money, always tell a grass to grace story. Remember that grace differ from grace, because one person's grace is another person's grass, right? Your current success is someone else's grass. So know that grace differ from grace, right? So know the kind of grass to grace story you're telling. It mustn't be from poverty level. No, there are different kinds of grass, there are different kinds of grass story, there are different types of grace story, right? Then when you're done sharing your your grass story to grace story, if it's possible, mention the date of transition. Show people your before and after. Mention the dates, right? Ask big questions. Then you deliver well on your promise. Don't forget, tell a story to explain your point over and over again. Now, this will lead you into number four, where we have the training. Now, this is where you give your content, give your value, inspire people, motivate people, use trending topics to explain your point. For example, if I'm having a webinar right now, what's trending in Nigeria as of the time I'm making this video is Hilda Basi, who cooked the biggest jollof rice pot, the first ever challenge of cooking the biggest jollof rice pot in the world, and she won the Guinness Book of Record. When I was even listening to her, she was like, the interview, they said they told her to cook, meaning on an average 4,000 tons, but she did 8,000 tons, right? So learn to use trending story to explain your point. You can use comparison if possible. Use statistics if possible. This is the best place to discredit the norm, what everybody knows, and credit your offer. That's what you're about to give to them. Then speak more on your offer, then explain it to them. When you're speaking, you can also use acronym to sound sophisticated. You can use, for example, instead of you saying traffic transaction profit wealth, you can say TTPW principle, right? Create a goal. Now, when you're having your training, it's very important that you create a goal. Create a goal and a demand, then show them their desire. Like when you create a goal, create a demand, then increase their hunger and their desire to want that thing. Show them heaven, the promised heaven, and increase their desire to wanting to go to heaven. That is what it means, right? Then show them their problem, the problem that is preventing them from attaining their next level. When you do this in your training, you also do what? Now present your offer. Make an offer and handle all their silent objections, all their silent questions in their head. Then show them their desire, their desired heaven, how they can move from hellfire to heaven without going to what? Without dying, something like that, right? Show them the solution to their need, show them the solution to their problem. Very, very important. Then the fifth is transition. Now, transition is where you move from your training to the offer. So transition is always good. Um, it's always good to transit with a story, right? Do your transition with a story into your offer as a solution to their problem or their need, right? And once you transition into the offer, you now do what? Give them your offer. This is where you stake your offer, stake it, list it, right? Place curiosity in each of your offer. Use bullets, use numbers to list your offer. Then when you are stacking your offer, give a testimonial or a story on every offer that you present to them, right? Also try your best to make your audience laugh, right? It's very, very important, because when you make your audience laugh, they bond with you and connect with you more, and they lower down their guard, they trust you more. Remember, anytime you make someone laugh, they feel closer to you. And the more they feel closer to you, the more comfortable they become. It's very important. Learn to crack jokes that are related to what you're teaching them or what you're saying, not cracking jokes outside what you're saying. But even when you crack outside what you're saying, make sure you know how to tilt them back into your conversation. All right. And I need you to make your audience laugh. Keep throwing testimonials at them as you are staking your offer. Also crack joke in between. Then share other people's testimonial alongside the offer you are stacking. Right? Then from there, this is where you what's it called? This is where you the number 7. This is where you give your more like number 7 is question and answer, right? Number 7 is question and answer. So your audience, when you're done with your presentation to this point, they have questions in their head. Silent question. So this is the point where you ask them, either you ask them to ask their question, or you intentionally sorry, I think this thing is trying to pull off. So in the number 7, which is questions and answer, you use there's a formula I use to answer people's question and answer. I use the when people want to ask question, they have this habit of asking, what if negative? What if then a negative? What if I don't make it? What if it doesn't work? What if negative? So when you are doing the question and answer section, use the what if positive. What if you succeed? What if you make it? What if you sell? To handle their objection. So use the what if questions to handle their objection. Then number 8 is close. Closing is where you close with a fast action taker bonus. You close with bonuses, you close with promotion, you close with discounts, you close with urgency, you close with scarcity. Very, very important. So these are the 8 steps of speaking to sell, right? So in summary, let me summarize everything I've said. I'm going to summarize everything I've said, and I'm going to break it further down to a way, or to a level whereby a 7-year-old, or let's call it a 12-year-old, will understand, right? Just like I said initially, the best way to open, to start, which is number 1, is to tell a story. Now, I know your question will be, Augusta, how can I open? What if I don't have a story? There is a formula to open. It's called the SSQ strategy formula. The first S stands for story. The second S stands for statistics. The third S stands the SSQ strategy. The first S stands for story. The second S stands for statistics, and the Q stands for question. So you can decide to open with a question, or you open with stating a statistics, or you open with a story. It depends on you, and it's dependent on the kind of audience that you're about to speak to, right? So you must always start your presentation by opening with a statistics, you open with a story, or you open with a question. Now, it's very important that you do your research. Do your research and find out more about your audience. Research about your audience. Find out what they will be interested in, or what they will be interested to know, right? So that you know if you're starting your presentation, if you're starting your opening with a statistics, if you're starting your opening with a story, or if you're starting your opening with a question. For example, an example of starting your opening with a statistics could be, I could come out and say, do you know that 82% of businesses fail due to poor cash flow, right? Or due to poor cash flow management, and 42% of startups are dead on arrival because their offering doesn't solve a real problem. Even more, even more surprisingly, these 42% businesses or startup, they crumble simply because there is no real demand, there is no real value for their solution, right? There's no real demand for their solution. As much as what they are selling is valuable, nobody needs it, right? And this means you can't just have a great idea and go to the market. You must know if your idea is marketable. You must test the market to see the market reaction to your idea, right? This means you can't just have a great idea. You must manage your finances smartly. You must ensure you're solving genuine problem, right? So you can stay tuned as I share practical ways to strengthen your cash flow, validate your business idea before you scale. This is just what I did. I just opened. So you see, I stated statistics, and I did a kind of, I emphasized on it. I expanded it a little and gave them a reason why they should pay attention to me till the end. I can even go further and I can say, here is the reason why most business owners don't talk. Sorry, how do I write this down? I'm trying to see how I can add more substance to the open. Right. I could even take it a different angle. I can decide to say, do you know that? Or I can start with a question, or I can start with a curiosity driven sentence. I can say, here is the reason why many business owners don't talk about their finances or don't talk about their business. Or I can come out and say, the number one secret a lot of business owners don't like talking about. This is a curiosity driven open. I can now support it with a statistic. So you can combine the statistic, story, and question strategy as an opening. You can decide to combine them for your opening. I can continue with I can continue by saying, the number one secret a lot of business owners don't talk about. 82% of businesses fail due to cash flow issues, and 42% also crumble or it's crumble or shut down, let's use that word, because there's no market need or demand for what they are selling. So tell me, what are you doing today to solve a real problem and keep your money and your business moving? This can be an opening, right? This can be an opening. So when you're opening, state statistics. And whenever you state statistics, learn to keep quiet, take a breather, allow what you just said sink into their head, right? Allow it to sink into their mind. Allow them to think, then continue. Remember, how you say something is more important than what you say. So know when to say something and give a pause and allow them to take it in. Very, very important. Another example of opening with a story. Remember, the essence of opening with a story is to pique curiosity. It must be very simple. Your story must be very simple and understanding, and it must be very relatable, right? For example, I could start a story. I could start my opening with a story. For example, my own personal story. I would like, I'm going to, okay, I can start with, hello everyone, my name is Eminent Augusta. I'm a young lady. I used to be a multi-millionaire. Okay, how do I start now? Okay, I could come out and say, let me start with a curiosity story. I could come out and say, I'm about to show you how I lost it all, lost my dad, was broken, and fell and went to ground zero, and how I was able to rise back up and became a multi-millionaire, building a businesses that serve business owners across the world in, I can decide to stay in 12 months or in 24 months or in 2 years. That's a story. So people will be interested to know more the detail of what exactly happened. So the goal is your story is the element of bonding. Your story should reflect their current state and should also reflect the promised heaven where they want to be. Remember, you're trying to bond with your listeners. So a framework for storytelling is your ability to say, okay, I want to start by telling you a story of how I lost it all. So it's about, let me start by telling you a story of ABC that will show you XYZ. So I can come out and I can say, let us start. I would like to start off by telling you a story of how I lost it all. I went broke, I was broken, and I lost my dad and went to ground zero and fell to ground zero, and how I was able to rise back up like a burning phoenix in less than 3 years, building businesses that spans across different countries in the world, serving business owners. You see, when I say this, everybody's attention will be on me. They're like, okay, there's something there. Please, I want to hear more. Right, that's an example. Another example you can use is, like I stated before, either you start with a story or you start with research, right? So always use statistics for research. So you can start by saying research has it that 80% business executive that dressed in suits close more deals and make more sales. You can start with that and to draw their attention. I can come out and say research has it that beauty premium is now a leverage to winning a deal or contract or position as a woman in today's business world. When I say this, people like, what do you mean? And that's the truth, that's the clear fact. Beauty premium is not something that is raining. If 10 girls go to an interview or a contract or whatever, and nine doesn't know it, and nine are very good at what they do, and one doesn't know much but she's beautiful, the tendency of that one that is beautiful to get a job is high because of what? Beauty premium. But we're not going into that today, right? So when you start with your opening, when you start with a research stating statement, a story, a statistics, or a question, right? It gives you more credibility. It shows your authority, that you are knowledgeable of what you are doing or what you're saying. For example, I can decide to start with a question, the question strategy. I can come out and say, how many of you would like me to show you how to make 4 million naira every week in sales in the next 30 days? My job here is to show you how to achieve 4 million naira in sales in the next 30 days in your business. Who is interested? Now, notice it's very important you use odd numbers when you're stating figures, right? So you can decide to start with a question, right? Now that is opening. Now let's talk about hook. Your hook should always follow immediately after your opening. It's very, very important. Your hook must follow immediately after your opening. Your hook is that attention grabbing. Your hook is that thing, is what they will learn from your presentation. For example, you can say, in the next 17 minutes, I will show you how to sell out like crazy in 2 weeks on social media. That is a hook and they'll pay attention, right? So here, when you're stating your hook or crafting out your hook, the goal is for you to state what is in need for them, meaning what your audience benefits from you, what is in need for them. The hook is often an outline of what they will be getting from you in the presentation. That thing that you're promising them, that is a need and the solution to their problem. Right? And I know your next question will be, hey, Eminent Augusta, how can I write an outline? How can I write a hook, an attention grabbing statement? Or what do I need to say? Well, the best way for you to use curiosity driven sentence is by holding people's attention. You can also use gift as a hook. You can tell them, if you stay to the end of this presentation or webinar, I'm going to show you, or I'm going to gift you ABC. It could be cash, it could be money, anything. So if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you XYZ. So that's another way to hook people down, right? So after your hook, we move into proof, right? And remember, proof is showing people testimonial of what you're about to teach them or what you're about to say to them. If you are just starting out with your presentation, you need to show someone else success story, so that they're like, okay, show us. When you show someone success story, people will be eager to show, for you to show them how that person did it or how you helped that person, right? So show a proof. When you show proof, it's like you showing them a proof of concept that worked through what you're about to teach them or what you're about to give them. For example, I can come out and say, before we go into what we have here today, I would like to share with you a story of either myself or someone else. So you share a story of yourself with someone else, right? So remember, when you're trying to sell things to people, you need to think about the benefit of what you are offering to your ideal client. Think about the experience after they use their product. What will happen? What's that experience that they are going to have after using your product? What's the guaranteed transformation? What will they miss? What will they miss out if they don't take advantage of that thing you're offering them? It's very, very important. So remember, don't dwell on the features of your product or your service. No. Features sell, but story sells, benefits sell. So people are more interested in the story of the transformation. People are more interested in what is in it for them, what's their benefits, right? Then up next is the training. Now, training is where you share the content or the value you have. Talk about the benefits of the products, the benefits of the products that you want to give to them. Talk about the experiences that they are going to have. Talk about the guaranteed transformation. This is where you deliver the title of your presentation. This is where you create a demand and present your product or your service as a solution. This is where you inspire them and motivate them, right? From there, you now move into transition. Transition is how you move your presentation from training to pitching your offer. You can achieve this by creating a demand, then transition into offer. Create a demand, transition into offer. You can use a story if you want, right? The offer is where you talk about the extra benefit that your customer can't do without as an addition to the products you're going to sell to them. So you're not dwelling on the products, but you are dwelling on the offer because that is where you appeal to their greed, right? Here you talk about all the benefits, the result, the transformation, the experience that your customer or your client will have as a result of using your product or your service, right? Show them the benefits of your product, show them the benefits of your service. What's the change that they're going to experience? What's the experience? What's the transformation? What's the guaranteed transformation that your service or your product will bring into their life? Then after that, you do what? You state the value of the benefit. Make the problem so big and hopeless that when you supply the hope, which is your offer, as the value, it will make sense to them that they need to buy it, right? Like I said, state the value of your benefits. Make the problem or their challenge or their need so big and cumbersome, make it scary and make it so hopeless so that when they think, so that when you supply the hope, the value, the solution, the answer to their prayer, which is your offer will make sense to them. So as a business owner, your job is to think and create a need, think and create a demand for your products to sell. What demand do you need to create for your product to sell? What demand do you need to create for your service to sell? That's your job. Think, right? The next thing is what? The question and answer section. Now, question and answer section is where you answer all their questions. What if now the question in their head, they are saying, what if I do this and I fail? What if I do this, I do succeed? All the what if negative is running in their head. So your way the strategy of answering their question is you going the reverse. What if positive? So what if questions and objective, right? So you may want to prevent them from every questions in their head, every objective, every what if negative in their head that is going to prevent them from taking action. Counter it and ask them what if positive, right? Then once you are able to answer all their questions and their objectives, sorry, their objections, then finally you do what? Close. And when you're closing a sale, you close a sale with by dealing with their emotion. Close a sale, close your sale by dealing with their emotion. Remember, people buy out of emotion, but they justify their action with logic. They buy out of emotion and justify the deed with logic. So the goal is to stir up the emotion of your ideal listener, stir up the emotion of your listeners to see reason why they have to pay right now. All right. And the way you can make them to pay right now after stirring up their emotion is by giving them promo or discounts, price reduction, giving them bonuses, give them additional gifts or value. Remember, the purpose of closing a sale is to let people take action now and not tomorrow. Because if your ideal customer leaves your presentation without making financial commitment, they may not buy again. All right. So then another thing you can use to close is curiosity. The more mystical you sound, the more people would desire to wanting to know more of what your product and service can actually do for them. Is very important, right? Then the next thing is scarcity. Scarcity brings exclusivity. So here, this is where you talk about numbers, right? The number of products or service available, the number of slots. For some of you in your business, this may not work, but figure it out, right? Then the next thing, the next closing element is urgency, right? Urgency, this is where you use time to demonstrate the need for them to buy right now. You can say we have in 24 hours, this is gone. After 24 hours, this is gone. After 48 hours, this is gone. Then the last closing element is guarantee. So guarantee is your ability to take the risks off the head of your customer or your client and take it upon yourself. Take away all the risks from them and put it on yourself. And that's where you see people giving 100% money back guarantee. All right. So this, I believe at this point, I've been able to convince you or to make you understand how to speak to sell in webinar, in presentation, be it physical, online, or video, whichever one, right? So my assignment for all of you is I need you to use this 8 presentation step and create a 90 seconds video, 3 minutes or 30 minutes presentation video for your business with a goal to sell your product or service, right? You can even use this model when you're having a presentation, right? Or even when you want to do a webinar, you can use this same model, right? So for those of you, you're a business owner or you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling on how to sell your product or your services using webinar or using a presentation style with a sales funnel, I can help you build your sales funnel. I can help you through my sales and marketing strategy section, where I'm going to teach you how it's done and help you tailor these 8 steps to your business. And I also offer a done for you service and also a done with you service. So if you are struggling and you want me to help you in implementing these 8 steps of speaking to sell for your business, either through a webinar, a presentation, a sales funnel, send me a DM, right? Or comment under this video or use the link in my bio to reach out to me or send me a DM on Instagram at Eminent Augusta, right? So if you want me to hold you by the hand to help you create a sales funnel or a webinar or a presentation that sells any that sell out any kind of product or service, I can teach you how to do it and I can help you do it for you and I can also do it with you. All you need to do is to send me a DM on Instagram at Eminent Augusta or comment under this video or use the link in my bio to reach out to me, the strategy link in my bio to reach out to me, right? For you to book your consultation, then we'll take it up from there. Don't remember, guys, if you gain value from this video, do well to like it, share it with your loved ones, share it with your friends, share it with your community members, your business owners in your community, share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It will really mean a lot for us if you subscribe. This will encourage us to keep doing what we are doing, and this will help the algorithm show this content and our channel to a lot of people that needs it. So that's why we are asking you to please like and subscribe to this channel, and don't forget turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss our next video or our next live event. I love you, I'm rooting for you, and I'm watching you from afar. I remain my humble self, Eminent Augusta, your number one sales and marketing strategist and business automation expert. See you in our next video or in our next live section. Bye.